special edition of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Today we're going to be revisiting a story that we did a few shows ago regarding what's going on down under in Australia, New South Wales, the Menindee Lakes community. I'm Phil Taylor Jones, your host, and let's jump into that subject right now. I'd like to start off by saying that if any servant of the people knowingly keeps those people in peril and does nothing about it, they're not servants of the public. They're merchants of death. I don't understand how some people sleep at night. I really don't. You're there to serve people. You're there to help them out in their times of need, and you do nothing. You turn a blind eye, as it were. That's what's going on in New South Wales, in the Menindee Lakes district. You know, when I first heard of this story, brought to me by a very dear friend, Kerrie Reardon, I thought it was just Broken Hill that was suffering. But I've spoken to many of the wonderful residents of that area, and they told me it goes far beyond Broken Hill. In fact, the affected towns are Luth, and I hope I'm pronouncing these correctly, Tulpa, Wilcannia, Menindee, Broken Hill, and Punkarri. A lot of these communities are farm communities that surround the lake. You see, there is the Darling River, which is the third largest in Australia, and it's polluted with green, poisonous, bluish algae. I mean, it's disgusting. It looks like split pea soup. It's unfathomable. Then there's the Menindee Lakes system that, when filled to capacity, is 3 times larger than Sydney Harbor. It's almost completely dried up. To add insult to injury, they put in this boring system where they get bored water and send it out to big tanks for the folks there to consume, to bathe in, to do what have you. And I kind of, sniffed around with this bored water thing because it just sounded disgusting to me. And when I looked up the information, it actually was. They used machinery to bore down into the earth about 60 feet or so and extract water. But most of that water is stagnant, it just sits there, and it's, full of chemicals and what have you. The suggestion is that you boil this water first. And then even after that, it's not up to standard. And who wants to go around boiling water before it's consumed? It's not what regular humans in a civilized world do. Look at this, for instance. This is big, beautiful Australia. Civilized. Wonderful. Are they boiling water in Sydney? Are they boiling water in Queensland? Are they boiling water in the other affluent sections of Australia? Then what makes the folks within the Menindee Lakes district any less important? You politicians there in Australia, you should be ashamed of yourselves. One of the things that has always impressed me with the Australian people is this one little code, I guess you can say, they live by. And that's the code of, you never forget your mates. You never leave a mate behind. Well, I guess when you become an Australian politician, that wonderful motto, that wonderful creed by which you live, goes out the window because you're forgetting your mates. in Broken Hill. You're forgetting your mates in all of these other cities that I mentioned. And yet, the people that I've spoken to in Broken Hill got such resolve, such spirit. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed by these people. They remain friendly. I know Kerrie Reardon, she is about the most delightful person you'd ever want to meet. Always upbeat, cracking jokes. You know, she inspires me. I've spoken to other citizens there that have inspired me with their upbeat attitude in such adversity. And I know they're hurting. Kerrie told me of a gentleman who's basically, he provided fruits and vegetables that he has grown on his plot of land. Since the river dried up, the poor man can't water his plants. He's got a few fruit trees that they allow him to water on certain days. And even with that, the water is tainted, so that can't be good for the trees that are bearing the fruits. He's virtually closed up shop. There have been other incidences where either the boring pump has broken and people were out with, I'm even having a hard time speaking here. I'm trying to control my temper because, folks, this time I'm afraid to lose it. This pump broke down, so therefore the tank went dry with this nasty bore water. And the citizens there in Broken Hill have gone for water, without water, for as much as maybe 12, 13 hours. Now you think of it, many of us have had plumbing work done around our homes. I live in a multi-family unit, an apartment complex. And sometimes they have to work with the plumbing. And they'll come up and leave a note on the door. The concierge will knock on the door and say, well, you know, tomorrow from, say, 7 in the morning to about maybe 10 to 12 in the afternoon, they're going to shut the water down. Okay, well, my brother and I, we scramble to fill up our water jugs and, you know, make some dishwater and what have you, because we know the water's going to be off. Okay, well, when the water's off, that means no bathroom, no nothing that requires water. Now, this is just for a few hours. Can you imagine what that must be like for these citizens to go for that long without water? We're talking about infants, babies. We're talking about elderly who may need medication, may need to mix it with water, may need to have water. We're talking about extreme heat, temperatures, and people do not have water. This is unspeakable in a civilized society. What are you politicians thinking? Are you that high up that you forget your mates? You don't care what they're going through? You think about it. The water is cut off. Then everybody makes a mad dash for the grocery store or the convenience store until those stores are without water. Then where do you go? What do you do? To the mayor of Broken Hill, who possibly doesn't think it's a problem there. Where are you getting your water from, pal? Do you live in this community? I know in the States, the mayor has to live in the city that he's presiding over. In fact, where we live, our mayor doesn't live that far from us. I could get to his house in 10 minutes flat. About 20 minutes walking. Sometimes you can actually see our mayor going down a very big thoroughfare called Wilshire Boulevard. He's driving along in his limousine. Whoa. So my point is, you politicians over there in Australia, just like these here in the United States, in Flint, Michigan, who's going through the same problem, what are you doing to your mates? Children, the elderly, those farmers who can't water their crops, those farmers who can't give their animals water. What are you doing to your ecology? What's happening to the land over there? Vegetation is dying out, yet you do nothing. This is a long-standing problem as far back as 2002 and further back. And you've sat there on your rusty dusties, not caring, not doing. You put together some pitiful system by which you give your citizens nasty water. They gotta boil it. And then you don't even have a backup plan in case that goes on the blink. But yet, you go on. I even heard that Australia took in refugees. If you've taken in refugees while your mates down there in the Menindee Lakes community are without the basic human right of clean drinking water, then you are ludicrous. How dare you make a way for some foreigners when your own mates are in peril? You are not servants of the people, you are merchants of death. Well, the Phil Taylor Jones Show stands with the Menindee Lakes community. We're here for you. I'm working as hard as I can with different groups to try to get some kind of word out, to put pressure on the Australian government that doesn't seem to care about the people that they govern over. What is bloody wrong with you? The people of Australia as a whole, you need to remember your mates and fight for them. When it's time for these elected officials to be reelected, don't do it. Take their cushy jobs away from them. Hit them where it hurts, in their pockets. New South Wales is a beautiful community. I have not as of yet had the chance to visit there. I've been to Sydney, I've been to Melbourne, I've even been to New Zealand. Beautiful, beautiful country, beautiful people, friendly people. I actually hated to leave. But when I see something like this, it sickens me to know that the Australian government is treating their people so shabbily. It seems like governments all over the world, politicians all over the world, are the degradation of their nations. And when does it end? How many people have to die? Innocent children who haven't even seen first grade are suffering. I've seen the pictures, I've seen the itching, I've seen the lesions. I've seen the dead birds. I've seen the fish. In fact, we're going to put stills on this show to show the world that you're forgetting your mates. And how dare you hold your heads up at night, or go to sleep at night, or hold your heads up in the morning. How dare you reach for a clean glass of water when your mates are suffering? Politicians, they leave a bad taste in my mouth. And I used to say that about American politicians, because they're some of the most disgusting creatures that ever slithered across the ground. But now the Aussie politicians are trying to beat their time. You should be ashamed. I know I'm appalled. Folks in Menindee Lakes community, keep the faith, keep on fighting. Do whatever you have to do to get your word across. We stand with you. We're trying to help you as much as we can. I have emailed countless organizations, Greenpeace, Amnesty International, among others, to tell them of your plight. I know that many citizens there are working incessantly, trying to get the word out, trying to get things changed. But unless these heartless politicians somehow grow a heart, grow some compassion, and remember your mates, remember the people that are suffering, then all of this is in vain, like trying to get to heaven on an airplane. But one day, as they say in America, I don't know if you guys have that saying or something similar over there, what goes around comes around. And maybe you yourselves, you high up, muckety-muck politicians, maybe you'll have to go low and drink dirty water. And then you'll see how it feels. If you're not helping these people, these kind, hardworking, wonderful people that in the face of adversity can still find some way to lift their heads up and be proud Australians. If you can't help them and do what you were elected to do and serve them, you might as well quit. And let a wombat take your place as a servant of the people, because I'm sure wombat would probably do much better than you guys have done. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I'm going to turn it over to the exec. I believe he has a few words that he'd like to say.
Hello there, everyone there in New South Wales, Australia, in the community of Menindee Lakes. Hey, Kerrie, and all of you wonderful people. Chris here. I'd just like to reiterate what I said on that comment on the first video about this. This is an inalienable human right. There's at least three that I know for sure. Food, water, and a place to call home. A roof above your head. Now the third, the one I just last mentioned. Sometimes people can't go without a roof above their head. There's homelessness, and I wish it wasn't there. Food, people can go a little bit longer than water, but water, you can't go very long without water, and it's a travesty that they've done this to you guys just to try to, help out the agriculture and everything. Not that that doesn't need helping, but you don't, like you said, you don't leave a mate behind. And as I said in my comment, this irks me to my very core to see people treated so shabbily and to have their inalienable human rights taken away like that, just suffering. It's a damn shame, and that the government is doing this like they always do, screwing people over, is even more maddening. It's just, I can't think of too much more to say about it because it's just too frustrating now. To see people, good people like that. Kerrie, she's a ball. She's hilarious. She's kind, loving, caring, and just like the other people of Australia that we come in contact with. And I mean to join the group. I'll be doing that today on Facebook, that you guys have created. But I just want you guys to know, as Phil said, that we're here with you. Both of us, we're here with you in heart and soul, and trying to fight for you, do the best we can on our end of the ticket. And that we support you. We're here with you. We're your mates, as they would say. And we're trying to not forget you, as the government has. And sincerely hope, as I said in that comment, that something can be done, anything, to get you guys, safe, pure, proper water, to get your inalienable, see, I can't even speak, I'm so pissed about it, inalienable human rights back to you where they belong. And I just hope that something can be done soon, because this is ridiculous. No person should have to live like that. I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy. Water is something you need to live. Your body's made of about 80% water. You need that to live, and I sincerely hope something can be done, because I would hate to see good people suffering like that. Before I get too sad or angry any further, I'll bring it back to the host of the show.
Well, yeah, I echo you there, Chris. This is disgusting. I mean, when I first heard the story in Flint, Michigan, where I was born I was born in Flint, but I was born in Detroit. And to see what those people are still going through, they've switched the water back to the reservoir in Detroit, so they're getting fresh, clean water. But it's still to no avail because the water that they were getting from the old corroded Flint River has corroded, messed up the pipes. So they got to repipe the whole city of Flint, and that's where they're at right now. There's supposed to be money earmarked for that, but as you would figure, the stupid government is, putting a stymie on that. So, when I heard this story from Kerrie, it just sort of connected, and it infuriated me. And, they just had a big celebrity fundraiser in Flint to help further along the cause to get that repiping done. Some of you wonderful celebrities over there in Australia, come on, get with your mates down in Menindee Lakes Association down there and make some noise. Celebrity star power. Come on, help them out. Everybody get together. That's the way you make things happen. That's the way you can turn heads of these muckety mucks, these governmental political idiots. Make some noise, make a joyful noise, and let them know that this kind of thing is not going to be tolerated in the beautiful country, nation of Australia. It's beautiful there. And it should be maintained. The Darling River, that mighty, beautiful river, and all of this Menindee Lakes system. We're talking about a system of beautiful bodies of water, either reduced to a polluted sludge or just totally dried up. And on all of the trees and the vegetation, it looks like Death Valley here in California. You don't forget your mates, politicians. Turn it around and get these people what they so desperately need is plentiful, fresh, clean water. And on that note, I'll close out the show. We thank you so much for joining us for this edition. As I said before, the wonderful folks over there in New South Wales in the Menindee Lakes community, keep the faith, and we're here with you. Anybody here or around the world picking this up, and you feel so inclined as to help these wonderful people in their plight, make your voices heard. Do something. We desperately need your help. This suffering should not go on for another second, let alone weeks or months. Do something now. We can't be all we can be if you can't be all you can be. We're a chain. Resolute. We'll see you next time right here on the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Bye-bye.